Good morning, everyone. It is 10:30 today, January 27th, and you have joined us at NMDA's Healthy Soil Program for today's webinar, all about how eligible entities apply for grants from NMDA's Healthy Soil Program. We welcome you today, especially greetings from myself and from Dean Bruce, the co-leads of NMDA's Healthy Soil Program, with plenty of help from others here at the department. And to help you feel welcome and a bit of housekeeping as well, first off, we invite you to introduce yourself in the chat, noting which is your eligible entity. We'd love to know who's on the line with us today. Let us know a little bit about your eligible entity. Is it largely cropland you sit on, rangeland, maybe a mix of both? Maybe you're managing land for other purposes. We'd love to know a bit about the land within your purview at your eligible entity. On the housekeeping side of things, we ask that during the presentation you stay on mute and keep your video off. And the rationale for that is that it helps us preserve some bandwidth, which is really important, especially for those folks out in the hinterlands of New Mexico. And after the presentation, we will invite you to unmute yourself. Maybe you've got one of those questions that it's really hard to put in writing, but really easy to voice. So after the presentation is when we'll take those sorts of questions. We'll invite you to use that raise hand feature there at the bottom of your screen, and then you can unmute and ask your question out loud. And because we know this question always comes up, these slides that you're seeing right now, plus a captioned recording of this webinar, will be posted on our website and specifically on our eligible entity webpage. So again, welcome to today's webinar, and thanks for introducing yourself in the chat. Okay, a brief agenda. We'll go through the basics of NMDA's Healthy Soil Program, starting with who can apply, when and where projects can happen, what projects are eligible, important topic there. And of course, the reason we're all gathered today is to learn how and where to apply for the grants from NMDA's Healthy Soil Program to our eligible entities. So very quickly, who can apply for our grants? We have two applicant types. And if you'll focus with me on the left side of your screen for eligible entities, that's who today's webinar is for specifically. So our eligible entities are defined as local governmental entities with proven land management capacity to support healthy soil. Those parties include our tribal governments, pueblos, tribes, and nations. Eligible entities is also inclusive of the state's acequias, the state's land grants, our soil and water conservation districts, New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension Service. We also entertain applications from other parties that are not spelled out in that list, yet somehow can prove to us that they meet the definition of an eligible entity. Again, they're at the top part of the screen. The application period for eligible entities launched January 16th. It runs clear through Friday, March 20th at 12 noon. And an important note you will see across our application materials is we will not accept late applications, incomplete applications, or paper applications. If you've not seen this figure before, just know that you can apply for an award of up to $100,000 for your project as an eligible entity. That figure is inclusive of the mileage that staff might be traveling from headquarters out to the project site. It is also inclusive of a 15% administrative fee. So that all gets built into that $100,000 request if you choose to seek the maximum amount of funding. And know that NMDA pays that amount directly to the eligible entity. We mention our second applicant type, individual applicants, because maybe that's your side gig is farming, ranching, doing your own thing on your own private piece of land or your own public piece of land that you manage. So letting you all know that you may be in touch with individual applicants. Those are our non-governmental parties. We accept applications from them as well, our individuals, businesses, nonprofits. They've got a couple of hurdles to clear, including starting off with conservation planning, and that has to happen by February 20th, well in advance of the March 20th deadline for overall application submission. You'll notice there in the lower right-hand side of the screen that their awards are capped at just beneath $25,000. But again, zooming out from our two applicant types, this webinar in particular is for our eligible entities. So if you're here wearing the hat of a tribal government, a land grant, an acequia, an SWCD, you've come to the right place. And if you know of individual applicants interested in applying, you'll find that information separately on the Healthy Soil Program website. Next question is when can projects funded through the Healthy Soil Program happen? And great news, you have up to 15 months, nearly, to implement a project in this fiscal year 2027 cycle. So projects can start as early as July 15th of this year, lasting clear through 2026 and most of 2027. So projects that are selected for funding out of this cycle can last until September 30th of 2027. Again, projects lasting nearly as long as 15 months. And this is when I'll turn it over to my co-lead, Dean Bruce. Dean?
Thank you, Katie. Uh, where can the Healthy Soil Program projects occur? Basically, anywhere in New Mexico. We look at any type of operation. It can be cropland, rangeland, irrigated pasture, forest land, orchards, vineyards, gardens. This could be community gardens, subsistence gardens. Basically, any type of operation that falls within your jurisdiction as an eligible entity. There must be an existing relationship to the land. So your eligible entity can either own, lease, or manage the land, or your eligible entity simply is allowed to perform work on it. The bottom line here is that your eligible entity must have landowner permission to implement any soil health project on land that the eligible entity doesn't own. Um, as far as the size and scope of the projects, we'll accept any amount of land. This can be measured in acres or square feet. So it gives you quite a bit of flexibility on where you can develop these projects. Next slide, please. Okay, so the backbone behind the Healthy Soil Program and also the backbone behind your project are the soil health principles, the five soil health principles you see in front of you right now. Your project must include on-the-ground projects that address at least one of these five soil health principles. Number one, keeping soil covered. Number two, minimizing disturbance on cropland and minimizing external inputs. Number three, maximizing biodiversity. Number four, maintaining a living root. And number five, integrating animals into land management. This includes grazing animals, birds, beneficial insects, or keystone species such as earthworms. So, how do you, as an eligible entity, decide which soil health principles should be at the heart of your on the ground project? Well, first, you use your local knowledge. Whether it may be a board or other farmers and ranchers, use that local knowledge. We also encourage you to consult your local USDA, NRCS, or Natural Resource Conservation Service office. Maybe visit with NMSU Cooperative Extension Service. Any of these entities can help you as an eligible entity identify those soil health related resource concerns that you want to focus your project on. This could be erosion, compaction, organic matter depletion, things of that nature. But it's up to you as the eligible entity to use all your resources available to identify those soil health related resource concerns that you want to focus on. Then you as the eligible entity can then determine which of those soil health principles are best for the land that you're proposing the project on. Again, you must address at least one of the five soil health principles named in the program. Next slide, please. So here's just a sample of some of the project activities that can occur on cropland. This is just a sampling. This is by no means a comprehensive list. We just want to kind of get the wheels turning in your mind as to what you may want to focus on with your project. You could plant a diverse cover crop mix with a no-till drill. You might also want to apply manure or compost to cropland to boost that fertility, organic matter content, but also you can look at establishing pollinator habitat. Later on in the presentation, we're going to walk you through the website, and there's a lot of materials and reference materials available for you to help you develop your project. Next slide, please, and we'll move to the next slide. We're going to talk about some of the activities that can occur on rangeland. You see in the upper left-hand corner, you can utilize bale grazing to restore cover on bare ground. improve the organic matter content of your soils. Um, Many now are looking at virtual fencing to improve grazing distribution on rangeland. As a side note, this can also be utilized on cropland as well. Any land use where you're going to implement grazing animals can utilize virtual fencing to distribute those animals and manage the grazing on lands. But we also have in the bottom left-hand corner just an example picture of an intensive rotational grazing system that you can utilize the Healthy Soil Program to develop a more intensive rotational grazing system on rangeland. And then, as of recently, we've funded some subsoiling applications to break up compaction layers and increase water infiltration on rangelands. So, again, not a complete list. As we go through the presentation, we're gonna again go to the website, and there's some more documents that you can view to help you develop your project. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is what you should land at when you go to the website. We'll get there here in just a minute. But you, as an eligible entity, your process is pretty simple. As Katie mentioned earlier, you do not have to complete conservation planning within RCS, so that expedites the process considerably. But you have basically 4 steps that you will walk through. We encourage you to go through these in order because it helps you develop your project in a fairly efficient manner. But this is what the eligible entity website will look like when we get there here in just a bit. And again, there's just 4 simple steps that you'll follow to develop your project and then finally submit your application online. Next slide, please. And it's at this point I'm going to turn it over to Katie, and I believe we're going to dive into the eligible entity website for the Healthy Soil Program.
Yeah, thank you for that good technical background on our program, Dean. Just a quick time check. I'm showing that we're less than 15 minutes in, so we've got lots of time to entertain questions. Again, popping those into the chat as Dean and I offer this presentation this morning. And then when we get to the end, we'll invite you to unmute and ask a question out loud if you'd like. But hopefully this has given you enough time just now to scan this QR code with your smartphone if you happen to have one and it's right there handy. This is the page that we'll be zooming in on in just a moment. So let me do some maneuvering with my Zoom screen here and we'll go to the website. And hopefully the computer has followed me over to the landing page for eligible entities.
Yes, you're there.
Okay, great, Dean. Thank you. I'll take a moment just to walk us through some of the resources that live here. A really critical one is our frequently asked questions document. You know, Dean and I entertain a lot of questions at our HSP email address, and we often point people back to this document. It's where we have captured a lot of the questions that we have received from eligible entities throughout the years of our program. So we invite you to stop off there when you have a question before sending us an email. Chances are someone else has wondered the same thing before, and we've addressed that question in writing for you there. Pretty soon you'll see today's slides and a recording posted here. And the other thing I want to point out to you is this: if you've not already signed up for our weekly email updates, they come to you every Friday afternoon with application tips, deadline reminders, always soil health events and news. Just pop over to our homepage and you can self-subscribe for that. Dean mentioned we have 4 simple steps. This is an application process, again, unique to eligible entities or governmental parties applying for projects of up to $100,000. So we'll walk through the application steps here very briefly. So first step is select the project site and identify the top soil health related resource concerns. If you toggle on that button, you'll get this to pop up and pop down. Okay, and Dean already mentioned that you might consult with local authorities, local technical experts to help you with this first step. Again, it's identifying the project site within your jurisdiction, as well as those resource concerns particular to the soil that you will address at that site. Okay, we offer a few tips as to how you might select that project site. Maybe it's the land with the greatest potential for improvement. Maybe it's the number of plant communities and animal populations that can benefit. Maybe it's the proximity of the project site to your headquarters, making things really easy to visit and keep eyes on. So several options you can consider here. Dean mentioned turning to NRCS if you need some help identifying those soil health related resource concerns. Maybe it's compaction, maybe it's erosion. If you're not quite sure what you're looking at and wanting to remedy, a really great resource is NRCS. And we offer this really critical note that if your eligible entity intends to do bale grazing as part of its project, we saw those pictures earlier, and Dean referenced that bale grazing is a great way to get some organic matter back into your soil and restore some cover to bare ground. If you intend to do bale grazing as part of your project, you must complete this template, and that must be done in cooperation with NRCS. And the deadline for that is February 20th. Dean, anything else you'd like to say about step one?
I think you covered it very well, Katie.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to step two then. So once you've selected your project site, maybe you worked with NRCS to help you identify those top soil health related resource concerns, you're ready to move on to step two. And that's simply sitting down at a table with pen and paper, a calculator, a colleague, an internal stakeholder, an external stakeholder, and really getting to work developing the project idea. Dean mentioned that we've got a great resource for you. This is it. It's the Project Development Guidance Document. So what does that do? Well, it guides you to developing your project. It's right there in the title. So we encourage you to visit this resource to help you think through what potential projects you could do as an eligible entity. And I'm the sort of person I like to think through things by asking a lot of questions. So we pose some potential questions that will help guide you to a good project. I'll just go through a few of these. So you'll see the same phrase appear again as you did in step one. Ask yourself, which soil health related natural resource concern is this project going to focus on? Then ask what soil health principles will best address those resource concerns. Is it keeping the soil covered? Is it maximizing biodiversity? Is it integrating animals into land management? Think about the soil health principles next. From there, you can move into the actual practices that you'll be doing. And this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of a project. So we want to know, what are the things you can actually accomplish between mid-July of this year and late September of 2027? That is the grant term. So what are the project activities that you can actually get done in that time frame? Once you know that, ask yourself, well, what are the goods and services that our eligible entity will need to get that stuff done? And then from there, it's a simple step asking yourself, from which companies will you source those goods and those services? And then to build out your budget, you'll need to know what are the actual costs of those goods and services. You'll need to do a bit of research because we're not looking for estimates. We're looking for actual costs of the things that your eligible entity will do to improve the soil. So that's step two in a nutshell. Dean, anything you'd like to offer there?
No, just an encouragement to really spend some time on this section of the project. Specifically, go through that project development guidance document. It's got a ton of information to help you tie those resource concerns to the soil health principles and give you a better understanding of how the principles can address different resource concerns.
Thank you for that, Dean. So let me collapse step two, and I'll turn it over to you to walk us through steps three and four.
Thank you, Katie. So you'll notice as you get to step three, this is actually where you're working on your online application. But just before you actually start working on that online application, this is where the budget timeline template comes into play. And so this is where you're going to place all those goods and services that Katie mentioned earlier, as well as the timing in when you're going to actually implement various stages of your project. And so the timeline and budget template is a critical document for your application, and you're likely going to spend a good bit of time on it as you determine, what you're going to purchase, when you're going to purchase it, and how the overall application process is going to flow based on the goods and services that you're going to request. So the first thing you're going to need to do, you'll see down here, there's an option to download NMDA's FY27 timeline and budget template. So What you'll do there is you'll just click on that. It'll download a copy to your computer, but you're going to actually need to save that to your computer and then begin working on it at that point. Um,
And Dean, I
and
think it's a function of my low bandwidth for hosting all these different applications that we're getting that error message, but it does work.
yeah, I think we're good to go. I think at this point, um, we'll we'll skip ahead just a little bit to step four, because that's where you're actually going to finalize and submit your application. Here in just a bit, we're going to walk you through the online application. It's pretty simple. You'll go to that grants.nmda.nmsu.edu link. It will take you directly to our grant portal. Those of you that have participated before, you should already have a login, but those that haven't, you'll actually have to create a login. And then it's just a matter of working yourself through the application, answering the various questions, which we're going to show shortly. But before we do that, I'm going to actually ask Katie to stop screen sharing, and we're going to spend a little time on the budget itself. So give me just 1 second to get this pulled up. And Katie, do I have an Excel spreadsheet in front of everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and real quickly, I'm gonna kill my camera just so everything flows pretty smooth. So this is the FY27 timeline and budget template. But before we actually get to the good stuff, I want to direct everybody down here to this these tabs here at the bottom left-hand corner of the spreadsheet itself. This first tab is highlighted in red because it's really important. And so we're going to click over there and hopefully it'll follow me, but it didn't. Um, okay, so the first tab over here, there we go. The first tab is the instructions, and we do encourage everyone to start here before you start on anything else, is to go ahead and go through the instructions. This will save both you and us a ton of time later on to go through the instructions. Um, we do, if you look at number one, we will only accept this template in Excel format. So if for some reason you save this into another format type, it will not be accepted. So it must be submitted in Excel. We encourage you to review the entire FAQs that Katie mentioned earlier, so that saves you time on maybe some budget items that may or may not be allowable. And so we encourage you to spend some time reviewing that FAQ before you actually come to the budget timeline template itself. As you're filling in the different cells where it asks you to describe stuff, we ask you to be brief but specific. Um, we ask you to complete the template chronologically. And so Katie mentioned that this grant period will roughly go about 15 months. And so fill it out according to the order in which you're going to complete these different activities. Um, if you are requesting grant funds to plant cover crops, there's a separate table to the right of the main timeline and budget that you'll need to fill out, describing those particular species and the composition of the mix. And then finally, you'll upload the completed version of this document in Excel format, where noted in the online application that we'll show you later. The one thing we do ask is when you save this to your computer, try to add in some type of unique identifier to you rather than just the generic name that the template comes as, so that when things are being sorted out through the review process and later on, we do have that unique identifier in the file name itself. So I'm hoping this transitioned over to the template itself. You'll
Yes.
notice over here on the left-hand side, this is where you're going to start thinking about the timeline of your project. So I have some stuff filled in. We're going to go through this fairly quickly, but you'll see you can drop this little drop down here and select from the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and the fourth and final quarter. And it does give you date ranges for each of those quarters. So as you're developing your project, again, we ask you to fill this out chronologically in the order that your activities are going to be completed. We have three broad categories in this template. We have the non-durable goods. These are the things like cover crop seed, compost. These are short-lived items that you're going to use up in a season, basically. The category here is the durable goods. These are those tangible, long-lived items like PVC pipe, maybe some T-post and wire to put in some fencing. This could be actually where you would put, say, virtual fencing collars. Those are those things that are going to last for a span of time. And then the final category is your services category. And the services category are those things that it's specialized work performed by a business. So if you have to contract out cover crop seeding or things of that nature, that's where you're going to put these services. And so those are the three broad categories. They're explained in detail in the FAQ. And again, I can't overstress spending a little bit of time in that FAQ to learn about these different budget items and what's acceptable, what falls in line with the Healthy Soil program. And so there's your categories that you're going to begin to think about as you fill out this. And so the first thing you're going to do is start with the timeline. So you're going to select the quarter in which it's going to occur, and then you're actually going to describe what you're doing. So we see in this very first one right here, this first quarter. And the very first activity that you're going to complete of your project, which is actually required, and it's already placed in here for you, is soil testing. And so the very first thing that you're going to do before you do any other project activities is once you've selected the sites, you're actually going to select soil samples and have them sent off. You'll notice here that I moved over to the services category to fill this in because this is a service, a specialized service performed by a business. Um, you must name the business that will be performing this service. Here I put example Soil Lab Incorporated, but more likely you'll have an actual business that you've researched to determine the lab that'll give you the best soil testing for your situation. You'll come over here and you'll fill in the units. These are the number of soil tests that you'll be completing. You're going to describe what the unit of measurement is. In this instance, it is a soil test. And then based on your research prior to this, you've contacted the company. You know that they charge $75 per soil test for the soil testing regime that you would like to have. And then that totals correctly. None of the totals on any of these, whether it be the durable goods, non-durable goods, or services, you don't have to calculate that yourself. You just have to know the number of units and the cost per unit, and it calculates automatically. So real quickly, I'm going to go through some examples of acceptable and non-acceptable methods or ways to fill out this budget template. So let's imagine that your eligible entity would like to have a fall planted cover crop. It's going to be planted within the first quarter, so that gives you a time frame of July to August of 2026. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to describe the project activity. And here I just put cover crop seed. And what I ask you to do is, if we look at the cell below that, is a much better way, a much more descriptive way, so that we as the Healthy Soil Program team, as well as the Technical Review Committee, can really understand what you're doing. It would be better to put something more like this: purchase a multi-species cover crop seed and drill with a no-till drill. Um, So we're going to compare and contrast these two examples kind of throughout this first little example here. So you're going to name the durable good. In this first one, we just put cover crop seed, and we're going to buy 5,000 pounds with no description of what the seed is or anything like that. The one below it is a much better example and gives us a better understanding of what you're going to do. It's a fall super blend from Seed Guy Seeds LLC. And by the way, I made that up. If that happens to be a real business, I apologize. And so we actually have a seed blend that we can look up, whether it's on the internet or anything like that. But it provides us with an actual seed blend so that we know what percentage the different seeds are. Or you could also list the different species in the cell itself, or the blue table over to the right, which we'll talk about in just a second. But this description right here is a much better way. It gives a lot more information to us as well as the technical review committee. So we're going to move over here. First example like this, drill cover crops. Okay, not a whole lot of information there. And it's also missing one key component, and that is the name of the business that will perform the service. So instead of that, we would prefer this one right here, no-till drill fall cover crop for district producers. You'll notice that we named Landtech Custom Farming LLC as the business that will perform this. It's going to be 75 acres. It's going to be $15 per acre. And then again, that totals automatically for you for $1,125. And so as you see this, I hope it's given you an idea of how to fill this out in a more descriptive manner so that we as the HSP team as well as the technical review committee can understand a more in-depth version of what you're doing with your project. So real quickly here, I'm going to go over this blue chart to the left. So what this blue chart does for us is it helps both you and us to see exactly what seeding, if you're doing a cover crop mix or something of that. Maybe it's a native grass seeding. You're trying to do some rehab work on some native rangeland and you're doing a native grass seeding. This is where you'll actually put in the specific seed species that you're going to be using. So we start with the seeding date. So when you're going to be doing this, we move to the species name. And so this is where you're actually going to provide the species. If it is a standard mix from a company that we can pull up online, whether it be Seeds of the Southwest or Curtis and Curtis Seed, Bamert Seed, some of those seed companies, if we can pull up that specific seed mix online, just place that here. If it's a mix that basically you kind of developed on your own or with the help of NRCS, you need to give us the species, the percentage, and we have an example here. And then we'll move over here to the field and pasture name. So you're going to tell us where this is going to be planted. Let me see if I can move this window real quick. And then this is where we do ask that you consult with NRCS to get the NRCS recommended seeding rate, and this is in pounds per acre. So you will put that number here. You'll determine the number of acres that you have planned for seeding, and then it will calculate the pounds of seed that is needed for this application. And so that's just a little bit of a primer on that blue cover crop seeding box table that we have over there. I'm going to give you a couple more examples real quickly. And so I mentioned that this middle section here is for these durable goods. Those are those things, as it mentions up here, tangible, long-lived items like PVC pipe, T-post, wire, etc. And this is where the quiz comes in. So for those of you that have participated in the Healthy Soil program in the past, you'll notice here that I put to purchase a no-till drill to rent to district producers. I have one drill. The unit is each. and then I have a price tag of $5,200. And so I'm actually going to ask, and I don't know if you get a gold star for this or not, but I'm going to ask everyone if you have participated in the past and are aware of the requirements of the Healthy Soil Program, to quickly place in the chat what is wrong with this durable good purchase that I have highlighted right here. And so while you're doing that, I'm just going to give that a little bit, and I hope you haven't checked out at this point. And you can tell me what's wrong with this durable good purchase.
Dean, it looks
Like
to
we,
me like everyone's keying in on the $5,000 durable goods limit.
yep, I was
And
noticing that. I'm going to have to hand out quite a few virtual gold stars today. I don't know how I'll do that, but we'll make it work. But anyways, um, the issue with this right here, as Katie mentioned, um, is a durable good purchase over $4,999.99, and that comes directly from the FAQ that any durable good, whether it's a singular unit or if it's multiple components that are put together to form a functional unit, cannot exceed basically $4,999.99. So those of you that keyed in on the fact that this durable good purchase is $5,200 and would not be eligible for the Healthy Soul program as part of your budget. Again, gold star to you for today. Uh, so we're moving on. I'm just trying to give some examples of things that eligible entities would place in their budget. We see right here that maybe an educational event for area producers to go over the soil health principles, maybe go over the project that you have in lined out. Get people an understanding of the project you have. So you would just have a good description of what you're going to have here. Um, the contractor of the business, of course, would be the either example SWCD, or maybe it's your land grant, maybe it's your tribal nation, but that would be the business. You have the unit as of one. You can do multiple education events, maybe one to start the project, one to end the project, and see what has transpired over the 15 months. You would go each and then, place a dollar figure on that educational event. So I want to encourage the eligible entities on the call today that that is in line with the Healthy Soul program. You do have to have that on the ground component, but we do encourage those educational events. And real quickly, a couple more examples of kind of what to do and what not to do as far as placing items in your budget. You'll notice right here that I just have compost and I have 5 truckloads. The problem with that is it's not an actual unit of measurement. We don't know how many pounds that is or how many tons that is. And so we would much prefer this avenue right here. Compost delivery, including taxes and delivery charges. We're going to buy 100 tons at $50 a ton for a total of $5,000. And then move over here. Again, what not to do and what to do. We just have apply compost. We have no contractor listed. Down here, we have pay local contractor to spread compost on 25 acres. We have Earth Form Landscaping and Earth Moving Incorporated. Again, made up, but hope you get the imagery right there that we need a specific business lined out for this. And then again, the amount to be completed. It's in acres and it's $12 per acre. If you scroll down here, it begins to give you a running tally of the project cost. And so I know I've kind of went a little long on this, but your budget template is a very critical component to your application, and so I encourage you to spend quite a bit of time completing this budget template. So I believe it's at this point I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and turn it back over to Katie, and we're going to move to the online application.
yeah, thank you, Dina. And just a quick time check. I see we have about 20 minutes. I'm seeing some good questions. One more recently, Dean, about durable goods caps and how that impacts the virtual fencing project. Let me get back to the eligible entity homepage, and we'll move forward from there. Okay, so Dean just finished walking us through the timeline and budget. And we wanted to spend time with you on that this morning because it is central to the contract. If your eligible entity is successful, meaning your project is selected for funding, this is what we will build the whole contract around. So these are the services, these are the goods, these are the activities that you're agreeing to perform when we sit down to finalize that contract. Again, if you're awarded a grant. Okay, so you got a sneak peek. I've already clicked on this tab, which is our online application submission software. Fancy name, but pretty easy to navigate. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. Notice that you'll see all the funding opportunities currently available from NMDA. They are many, but what we're looking for in particular is this one, Healthy Soil Program Grants for Eligible Entities. We're going to press submit. Okay, I've already created an account, so I'm going to get logged in. If you're a first-time user, you'll need to set up an account. It's free to do, it's easy to do, so you should have no problems there. But when you run into issues with any part of our application process, ping us, send us an email, give us a call. That's what we're here for, is to help you through these processes. One of our bits of advice for applicants is not to wait until the last minute. You can see that my internet is slow today. If you're encountering that same issue, you sure don't want to wait until March 20th at 11:59 that morning to press submit. So again, build a cushion into your timeline for getting this application submitted, because you'll see here that it closes very firmly at 12 noon on March the 20th. And Dean, as we wait for these questions to populate, maybe you want to voice that durable goods question and try to answer that in real time.
Be happy to. If you're looking at, say, virtual fencing, I think we all understand that, depending on the company you utilize, there may be a base station required, and those are a considerable expense. Basically, you as an eligible entity would have two options at that point. The entity itself could go ahead and purchase the base station. And then utilize the Healthy Soil Program to purchase the collars necessary to complete that project. Or if the company has this option available to lease the equipment, you could lease the base station and or the collars for the duration of the grant. And because a lease is considered a service, you're not limited to the $4,999.99 limit on durable goods. And so, again, if that company has that option available, you can lease that equipment for the duration of the grant, and it would not fall under the basically the $5,000 durable good limit.
Thank you for that, Dean. Okay, and my computer has caught up with us. So now I'm going to just answer these simple eligibility questions before I get started on the application. Again, some good context here about the length of the time of the grant period, as well as who we consider eligible entities. So I'm going to click that. Yes, I'm applying on behalf of an eligible entity, and go to next. And I'm fully expecting it's going to take just a minute to populate on this next screen as well. So what I'll do in the meantime is toggle back over to this web page and just show you kind of where we are in the overall process. Dean did a good job of walking us through our timeline and budget template, again, central to the overall project. So make sure you're spending good time and thought on that document. It's one of the things that you are uploading to the overall online application, which is what we are taking a peek at right now. So let me pop back over here. All right, we are in the application. So some pretty straightforward questions to get you started. And that's basically how you identify, how your eligible entity identifies the name. And I'm going to scroll relatively quickly after addressing this question. So we shared with you up front that $100,000 is the cap for eligible entity projects. That's provided that you have a UEI number, a unique entity ID with the federal government. The reason for that is we want to grant you a right-sized project for your entity. Meaning, if your entity has not managed big dollar projects before, we don't want to overwhelm you with a $100,000 project through the Healthy Soil Program. So in the case that you don't have a UEI, your funding cap is just under $25,000. Again, because we want to give you a project that's the size that you can be successful implementing. So any questions or concerns about this or any other part of our program, again, just reach out to Dean and me. Hopefully, Dean, you can drop an email address in the chat as I scroll through here. Okay, so just some basic information. Who's on first leading your project? How can we get a hold of you? Scroll. Where's the project located in terms of county? This will help populate our funded projects map that lives on our website. Okay, we ask you some details about your project site, where it's located, how much land is involved. And yes, as Dean mentioned earlier, we welcome projects in acres or square feet. We funded a community garden, for instance, that's measurable in square feet as opposed to acres. But notice that if you are applying with a square foot type project, we'll ask you to convert to acres for the rest of your application, just so we're looking at projects apples to apples, not apples to oranges. We want to know about how you relate to the land. And critically, who are your partners for this project? Maybe you're going it alone at the eligible entity. Maybe you've got other partners. We ask you to name those partners and what it is they'll contribute to the project. The land type for the project site, it could be multiple places. Maybe you're doing a project on both cropland and rangeland. Again, we select all that applies here. Next step is to upload an image of the project site or images. That's critical so that our reviewers can visualize what actually is intended to occur. Okay. And Dean, I'll invite you to unmute whenever you see something that you want to call special attention to. We ask for a bit of history on the land that is intended for the project. Clear up to what's been done on the land in the last 6 months. That gives us a really good sense of what you're stepping into with your project. And then currently, what's happening at the project site. Okay, we've had past participants apply in multiple years as eligible entities, and that is always welcome. And calling out this special bit of text that comes from the Healthy Soil Act. If you are serving different types of communities that are worth our attention, we invite you to explain that below. But you'll see that this question is listed as optional. Anything listed as required, of course, you got to fill it out. And what will happen to your application if you don't is it will not allow you to submit. So that's a good thing built into this program is you cannot submit until all of the required prompts have been satisfied. We're looking for a brief project summary here, mostly to help us populate the project's funded map, but also to give us a really quick and easy taste of what your project goals are. We've been talking a lot about what are your soil health specific resource concerns. You'll want to name those here. And name for us the soil health principles that you'll be applying through this project. How would you categorize the practices you're actually putting on the ground? This is that conversion table I mentioned earlier. And of course, if you are requesting funds for bale grazing, you will be prompted to upload that bale grazing template we showed you earlier on the website. Okay. Eligible entities are poised specially to do education and outreach in ways that individual applicants are not. So we strongly encourage you to describe that component of your project here. Okay. Of course, there's got to be a project narrative. So we ask why you're applying, what are the resource concerns you'll treat, what are the practices you're putting on the ground, what are your objectives, have you accounted for possible water shortages, and why is the project important? So you'll place your narrative there. Your narrative and your budget should point back and forth at one another. In other words, if you're requesting funds for bale grazing in your budget template, we should be reading about bale grazing within your project narrative. We ask about your soil testing component and other evaluation techniques. How will you know if this project is successful? Anticipated project outcomes, and the big one that Dean walked us through earlier. This is where you'll upload your timeline and budget template after you have completed it. You've looked it over. You're satisfied that anyone could pick it up and get a really good, clear sense of your project. So you'll upload that here. and just migrate over the total dollars requested for this project. But we also give you an opportunity to point our attention toward the things that you might forego if we are limited on funds. So if we have tons of great projects and we want to spread the monies out across those great projects, there may be some things that we need to exclude from funding. So we ask you to point our attention to those specific things. Okay, we're nearing the end of the application. This is where we get to other supporting documents. Maybe you've got letters of support from project participants. Maybe you've got additional photos or some videos you've taken. This is a great place to upload that sort of material. And the last section here is all about attestation, meaning we're alerting you to the fact that we might use your photos, we might use your videos and that sort of thing for news releases, for promotion of the program and promotion of soil health in general. So this bottom part of the application, again, just invites you to understand a bit more about our program and to sign off. But we want to offer you this final reminder that, yes, you've heard us say it before, we don't accept late or incomplete applications, nor do we accept paper applications. But know that you can edit your application so long as you make a request on or before March 19th. That gives us time to allow you to edit and gives you time to edit before you ultimately press submit. So I will leave things there, Dean, and again, offering us a quick time check. We've got a little less than 10 minutes to comb through some questions and offer some final comments to people. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Okay, Dean, anything interesting in the chat you'd like to call out?
Think we've already addressed the questions in the chat. You'll notice I did put the main HSP email account in there. That is the best way to submit questions, or try to if you needed some assistance or anything like that. Because, like I said, it's monitored by the entire HSP team, so nothing slips through the cracks, and we want to make sure that we're able to answer your questions. But while we're kind of getting ready to kind of put a bow on this presentation, if there's any other questions that you want to put in the chat real quick, feel free, and we'll definitely try to get those answered for you.
And maybe you've got one of those questions that just you're thinking, how do I put this in writing? Feel free to unmute and ask the question out loud. Some of those things just don't translate in any way but in real time. So as we wait for those, I'll just offer some kind of closing thoughts here, Dean, that we spent a good bit of time on the timeline and budget template today, and that was for good reason. As I mentioned, it is central to the contract. It's central to the memorandum of agreement if your project is selected for funding. In fact, we bundle those two items together and send them to you for signature. We make sure that we've combed through for ineligible expenses and remove those, and then we land at what will be considered an approved timeline and budget for your project. So again, that's why we spent a good bit of time on walking through that document today, and we encourage you to do similarly when it comes time to sit down and fill out your application. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say there's two questions in the chat. If you might want to take a stab at the first one, I'll take a stab at the second one.
Sure. From Chanda, if I'm saying that correctly, what total amount of funding does NMDA have for this program specifically? So year to year, we typically look at funding up to $1.5 million worth of projects. What that has looked like in recent years is approximately 50 projects, combining those submitted by eligible entities along with those submitted by individual applicants.
For the question from Cindy, it says, I'm new to this. How's the application filled out? If our purpose is to serve several producers and not just one. Okay, so Cindy, and to everyone, the way you would fill out the application is just identify maybe not necessarily the specific producers, but the fact that you will be working with multiple producers within your jurisdiction. Identify the expected acres that you're going to work on, and the size and scope of the project. And so, like I said, you don't have to identify those specific producers or land areas immediately, but you need to know within your project, how large it's going to encompass, and maybe just the amount of producers you're going to work with. Say, you're a district, say you're an SWCD, and you feel that you can work with 10 producers, and you just identify that within the application, within the project narrative, and let us know how that's going to work.
Thank you, Dean. I'll pitch this question your way. It's from Gabriel. For bale grazing, the prices of hay increase and decrease. How do we account for this uncertainty given the time frame in the budget?
And I completely understand your thoughts on this question, Gabriel. Um, my best answer for you is to uh, to research right now. The cost of the hay, understanding that there may be some price increases or decreases. If there, of what I would, my recommendation is to build in a small amount of leeway in your budget. Don't go crazy, but understand that there might be a little bit of increase in the prices. But we do ask you to find the best prices today. And if there is a price decrease, we do always allow a budget adjustment to where you can utilize those funds for other also named items within your budget. And so I hope that helps.
Yes, it does, Dean. I think, and I would just tag on to that for your hay line item. That's where you actually build in that bit of cushion. Don't create a separate line item that says cushion for the budget or extra leeway just in case, but rather within that specific line item for that hay. Just build a little cushion in, is how I would advise on that.
Clarification, Katie. And the one thing that seems to happen year after year is we do encourage you. Well, actually, we ask you to account for any applicable taxes, shipping, delivery charges. Build those into those line items so that when you actually purchase the item, your taxes, shipping, delivery, any type of transportation costs or anything that are associated with getting that product to your jurisdiction. Please account for that within your budget so that you can get your full amount back on your items that you purchase to improve soil health.
That's a good reminder too, Dean, and that's built into the top of that timeline and budget template. So again, as you're spending time with that document, just make sure that you have availed yourself of all the information that that contains. Dean, any final thoughts from you? I do see that Emma chimed in with that question. And actually, one more here from Jillian. So let me pitch it to you. And this will be our final question for the day. Should soil tests for lab testing and soil assessments for infield testing be completed prior to the grant term or following that date when projects begin?
Question, Jillian. For the soil test, since it will be a reimbursable cost, it must occur after July 16th or after the MOA is signed. And so any items that you complete prior to the MOA signing, we cannot reimburse. And so for your lab-based soil testing, since it is a reimbursable item, we do ask that you complete that after July 16th or the signing of the MOA. And so the MOA must be signed in order for you to get reimbursed on an item. Now, the soil assessments, I think that since it's not a direct cost that will be reimbursed, if you've got the email from us that's saying that you are awarded a grant, yeah, I guess you're welcome to go ahead and complete those infield assessments since there's no cost included with them. But it would be best probably to complete them at the same time that you complete your soil testing.
Dean, thank you. I said that would be our last question, but this question is so related we would be making a mistake if we didn't address it. So from Will at Socorro SWCD, why is soil testing at the conclusion of the project not included? It would be helpful to compare it with the initial soil test.
Well, William, thanks for the great question. And the reason we do not pay for post-project soil testing is the likelihood of the chemical analysis of your soil being drastically changed in a period of 15 months, that likelihood is very small. We do work directly with NMSU researchers, and that was a decision that we made because the chance of getting uh, appreciable results after 15 months is probably not likely to happen on a chemical analysis. Now, your in-field assessments, there can be drastic changes in just that 15-month period. And so we do require those infield assessments to occur both pre-project and post-project. But the chemical soil testing, not likely to see a whole lot of helpful data from what we've seen in the past. Not saying it can't happen, but we've just decided that we won't pay for those post-project soil tests.
And Dean, adding just a bit of context, given the expansion and the length of these grant terms, what we have in our FAQ is that you can request funding for post-project soil testing, but it is not required. So again, if that's something you'd like to do, Will, make sure it's built into your budget. Again, more information on this particular topic and many others in our FAQ. So make sure you all are reflecting on that document before making assumptions that might limit what you want to do with your project. Okay, Dean, we're a little over time, so final thoughts from you before we wrap up for the day.
I want to thank everybody for their attendance today, and also for your interest in uh, not just the Healthy Soil program, but healthy soils in general. And please reach out to us as you're developing your project. If you have technical questions related to your project development, please direct those emails to me through the HSP email account that I listed earlier, and be happy to help you in any way that I can to get your project on the ground, get it rolling, and help you develop that project. So thank you again for your attendance today.
Perfectly said, Dean. And the only thing I'll add is to stay tuned for our weekly emails. We'll let you know when this webinar recording and the slides are posted to that eligible entity webpage. It'll be before the end of the week. So just make sure you're keeping eyes on our website, and we look forward to your questions. Reach out to us electronically or by phone. We thank you all for your time and hope you all have a great day. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye bye.